Assalamu alaikum. This is Bro.Deric Muhammad, and I'm helping out with a project for Sister Destiny. I was told to speak on the subject of David and Goliath. I was also told to speak on the crucifixion of Jesus and how it relates to activist work. The first thing I want to talk about is David and Goliath. Now, the story of David and Goliath has been told millions of times, and it's always told in the context of David being the underdog and Goliath being the giant who was supposed to crush David. This was true in everybody else's mind except for David. David never considered himself the underdog. As a matter of fact, David didn't even know Goliath's power. He was too focused on God's. But David had 5 smooth stones. He had faith in God, but he had even more than that. The most powerful thing that David had was a strategy. David found a way to use his disadvantages and turn them into advantages. For instance, Goliath was very tall. Some say he was about 9 feet tall. David was not nearly that big, but because he was big, David knew that he would be slow. So what David did, he did the same thing that Floyd Mayweather does to his opponents. He used speed to his advantage. Goliath also had an eyesight problem, which is why he kept telling David, come closer, come closer, come closer. Well, David was no fool. David said, you know what? I'm going to stand back here and I'm going to fight him from a distance. So distance is one of the things that David used to his advantage. And another thing that's not quite told when the story is being remembered is that David was a master marksman with the slingshot. What David did to Goliath was comparable to him shooting him in today's terms. See, he spent many evenings practicing the slingshot. This is how he killed the lion, and this is how he killed the bear. And ultimately, as the scholars would say, the lion and the bear were just practice for David. Sooner or later, it was his destiny to meet Goliath. So David turned his disadvantages into his advantages. And the way that that relates to our work here as activists, David depended on God first and foremost. And if we are to be victorious in fighting for truth and justice out here in these streets, we have to first and foremost depend on God as well. But we have to know our resources. The powers that be, they look big to the average human being. They look big to the oppressed, but they don't look big to us because we know who God is and we know how to turn our disadvantages into our advantages. We know how to move fast. We know how to fight from a distance. We know how to be marksmen when it comes to the truth. So in that way, we are like David, challenging the giants of this world, and by God's permission, we might be victorious. The last thing I want to speak on real quickly is the crucifixion of Jesus. There's a picture that I purchased once of the great Marcus Mosiah Garvey being escorted to the port by immigration officers. They were deporting him because he'd been convicted of several crimes in court, and he was basically being punished for organizing the people in America, in the Caribbean, in Africa, and other places around the world. This is a reminder to myself and all of us who stand up for truth and justice that there is a price to pay whenever you stand up for your people. Jesus paid the price in his crucifixion. Garvey paid the price. Malcolm paid the price. Dr. King paid the price. Nat Turner paid the price. There's always a price to pay. But we can never be afraid of standing up for fear that there is a price to pay. We have to be like Jesus and go to our cross willingly, knowing that in the end we will be the victor and that God will vindicate us. Those are my 2 points. Hope that they're helpful for your project, and may Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.